Presiding Officer, Dean of the Faculty of Engineering and Information Technologies, academic staff, distinguished guests, and most importantly, graduates, your friends, and your families. Good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for having me here today. I'd like to begin by paying my own respects to the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, upon whose ancestral lands we have all had the privilege of studying whilst here at the University of Sydney. It's an incredible pleasure to share this special moment with all of you. To the graduates, congratulations. This day is a reward for completing your studies, a chance for you to celebrate with your families and loved ones. Congratulations to them as well for seeing you through all the highs and lows of your university education to see this day come about. You're probably feeling a number of emotions right now. Happiness at being here and sharing this moment with those closest to you. Maybe some apprehension at how long I might speak for. Don't worry, I won't keep you for too long. But if you're anything like me at my undergrad graduation, you're probably also just a bit relieved that you've made it through one of the most intense degrees on offer at this university. For some people, writing software comes easily, the product of many years of experience prior to beginning your studies. For many others, like me, the first taste of programming comes at university, often accompanied by the sneaky feeling that you've bitten off just a little more than you can chew. I started my IT degree the year that Apple announced the first iPhone, with nothing more than the experience of creating some websites and an idealistic thought that this industry might be the best way of keeping my options open in an increasingly computing-centric world. Many of you, like me, probably found it a serious uphill battle just to keep up at the outset. But whatever experience you came into university with, you still had to survive the grind of group work, communicating and working with people from cultures and backgrounds very different to your own. And for the research students, the challenge of crafting a unique research story in one of the fastest moving industries in the world. So for all of that, congratulations to you all. You made it. And now for the really tricky part. What comes next? I don't claim to have all the answers for success, but for what it's worth, here's my advice. There's the somewhat trite phrase that you may have heard that everyone likes to quote. Skate to where the puck is going, not where it has been. It's really hard to know exactly where things are going. And in my experience, just keeping your options open is almost as good. When I started university in 2007, iPods were the coolest gadget around. No one had heard of Facebook, and this ceremony was most definitely not live streamed. I moved from a small country town to Sydney to start a degree which popular opinion held was in decline, an area where all the jobs were being sent overseas. My overriding thought at the time was that eventually everyone should need computing, so studying it would hopefully give me the most number of options for the future. I wish I could claim that my 18-year-old self knew exactly what sea change was about to happen brought on by the tech industry. But by choosing the path that opened more doors than closed them, I ended up in exactly the right place at the right time. I made a similar choice just before graduating from my undergraduate degree, when I turned down a job offer in order to pursue a PhD. At the time, I still felt that study at university had more to offer me, more than just stepping straight out into the workplace. A year later, I applied for a Fulbright scholarship only because my esteemed supervisor, James Curran, found it and suggested that I tried for it. And I ended up winning one and spent a year at UC Berkeley in the United States. Looking back, it's really easy to say that I was lucky to end up doing what I did. But really, all I did at each step was make the choice that kept me broader, rather than pigeonholed, and I backed myself with hard work at each step. So instead of trying to predict the future, think about how to give yourself the most room to move as the future unfolds before you. The next piece of advice I have is to ask for help when you need it and give help when you can. You see, the only way I survived coming into computing with no background in it was by very quickly making friends with the people who actually knew what they were doing. I asked as many questions as I could, and slowly but surely managed to absorb knowledge from everyone around me. It really took me till the start of the third year of my undergraduate degree to really felt like I was understanding what I was doing, rather than just cobbling together bits and pieces from my lecture notes, tutorial examples, and from online. It turns out that experience was really valuable for research and the workplace, because nothing ever gets done in isolation anymore. My PhD was the product of every scrap of assistance I could muster from my supervisor, my lab mates, and collaborators around the world. At Google now, I'm very fortunate to be surrounded by some of the most intelligent and dedicated people in the industry, unified together by the common goal of making the web more powerful for developers and more accessible to users, especially to those places in the world which are only just coming online now. Nowadays, there is no smartest person in the room, only what the room as a whole can produce. And finally, I want to ask you all, implore you all even, for just one thing. Go and do good in the world. The last decade has seen dramatic, tumultuous changes, and not all of those have been positive. The technology that was meant to bring us closer together has arguably started to work to drive us apart. With product problems of its own creation, our industry is also grappling with systemic cultural issues. We know that many people are driven away well before they can join the industry, or are disillusioned by the experience of being in the minority. It has never been more challenging to work in the tech industry. But that doesn't mean that it's time to give up. Many things that we now take for granted were just pipe dreams so many short years ago. And that is a testament to the power of this industry to not only create incredible technology, but deliver it to people all around the world. If each one of us stands for doing what is right, stands for respect, for bringing in and including the people who feel left out, for using technology for good, we can change the world for the better, thanks to the extraordinary reach of the skills that you now have. So, wherever you go, whatever you do, I implore you, do that good. Thank you very much, everyone, and I wish you all the very best of luck as graduates of the University of Sydney.